Folks, unfortunately, we have to get a little bit personal today, and I don't generally like to do that, but I'm going to on this one because I do think there's some important information in my doing so about this. Today, I found out that former mentor of mine, Ken Starr, the former judge on the D.C. Circuit and the former Solicitor General of the United States, and of course, the independent counsel that investigated Bill Clinton, he unfortunately passed away today at the age of 76 years. And this is obviously a sad day for me because Ken Starr was a mentor of mine and a law school professor of mine and an inspiration to me as a young conservative at an elite New York law school surrounded by liberals. And I want to talk a little bit about his meaning to me and how he influenced me and how ultimately I think that the Four Boxes Diner channel and what I am doing for you now actually all kind of got its origin from my learning from now the late Ken Starr. And I want to talk about that for just a couple minutes. Hey folks, I'm Mark Smith, host of the Four Boxes Diner, proud American gun owner, constitutional attorney, best-selling author, and member of the United States Supreme Court Bar. If you have not subscribed to the Four Boxes Diner Second Amendment channel, please do so and show your love for the right to keep and bear arms. All right, folks, I have to get just slightly personal here because today my old mentor and my former law school professor, Ken Starr, passed away today, and I just want to talk a little bit about him. I'm sure you all know about Ken Starr from what you read. You probably remember him for many reasons, including the fact that he was the independent counsel that investigated Bill Clinton when he was president, and of course gave rise to, we know what happened with the Monica Lewinsky, the blue dress, and all that controversy that went down with that. We don't need to regurgitate that when he was the independent counsel and what he uncovered from then President Clinton. I want to really just talk briefly about Ken Starr and what he meant to me and how actually a lot of the guidance and really his example he set for me when I was a very young lawyer in my early 20s in New York City. I was a law student at NYU, which was then and is today one of the elite law schools in America. And being in New York City at an elite law school, needless to say, I was surrounded even back then by liberals, leftists. Most of my professors were leftist. Most of the people I knew were leftists. They were Democrats. They didn't really see the world the way I saw the world on a lot of issues. So to have Ken Starr as one of my professors, who obviously was of a conservative ilk, really taught me something very important that I try to bring to this day, which is you can be an elite lawyer, you can be an elite legal intellectual and a scholar and a successful attorney at the highest levels of American life and global life, really, including in New York City, which is not a conservative place as a general matter. I'm sure you know that. And yet you could still be a conservative. You could still be a believer in the Republican Party and the things they stand for and whatnot, and still reach the highest levels of American society, which Ken Starr really taught me that. And he was an inspiration in many respects, because not only did he, through the way he lived his life, taught me how to, act morally and act ethically and be a professional and take things seriously, but still maintain your values and your principles politically and otherwise. I learned a lot from watching him live his life, and also as one of his constitutional law students, which I was. And in fact, I have to, it's really a sad day because of his death today, because it brought back the fact that, we often talk on this channel about that I'm a member of the United States Supreme Court Bar, and that you have to have a sponsor for you to be eligible to submit papers and argue before the U.S. Supreme Court Bar. And Ken Starr was actually my sponsor to the United States Supreme Court Bar, and he, asked the Supreme Court to let me in, and he filed the paperwork appropriate, saying that I would be an appropriate member for the Supreme Court Bar, and of course I'm happy to say that I did get in. But the real lesson I want to give here today is that many of you out there, you have younger people in your lives, could be kids, could be grandchildren, could be people you know from the gun range, maybe people you teach, maybe mentees that you know from one place or another. And it's very important that you serve a role as a mentor to the younger generation, the same way that Ken Starr when I was just in my 20s, serve that role. And again, the reason why I do this Four Boxes Diner, I think, is because I've learned the importance of letting, people in the Second Amendment community and the constitutional community know that you can be smart and successful and a real scholar and yet not have to toe that liberal left-wing line that so many in academia now believe. So I want to say, my thoughts and prayers go out to Ken Starr's family and to his friends and to his colleagues and former colleagues. And again, I also want to make one final point. I think the lesson of Ken Starr was it taught me most importantly that I was not alone. That even though I was a right-wing conservative in law school surrounded by lefties, I was not alone because people like Ken Starr were out there, and that was a great inspiration. And also, of course, I realized that how many people Ken influenced, in addition to myself, there are many other law clerks and people that worked with him or were his students that I think he had the same influence on as he had on me. And that force multiplier, I think, makes a big difference. In fact, one of the people that I'm guessing played a major role in his life is, Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, who also worked for Ken Starr many years ago. And I'm guessing that Justice Kavanaugh today probably would have similar comments about Ken Starr's and similar feeling about Ken Starr that I have here. But again, the force multiplier of being an important mentor to other people and showing that we are not alone in the Second Amendment community, that we all support the right to keep and bear arms. We support a particular vision of American life, which is the correct one. And you are not alone. I am not alone. We must never forget that, because as Ben Franklin once said after signing the Declaration of Independence, if we do not hang together, we will almost certainly hang separately. And I think that metaphor speaks quite a bit to the Second Amendment community and to those that believe in the Constitution and what it stands for and how it's written. Okay, thank you for letting me indulge for a few minutes on some personal background here. I hope it wasn't too much. And again, I look forward to seeing you again here at the Four Boxes Diner soon.
Orders up. Table 2A.